Today we get to talk about one of the subjects that everybody, including me, has near and dear to our heart, and that has to do with interest rates. Now you might be wondering, Greg, why did you wait all these days to get to that most popular subject? I'm going to answer that at the end of this video. But I think the first and most important part is to understand the 5 components that drive your and my interest rates. The first of the 5 is not a surprise. Credit scores. The higher the credit score, the lower the interest rate, or the lower the cost to get that interest rate. So credit scores make a big difference. A rule of thumb, I think I mentioned this in one of the other videos, for every 20 points below 780 on a conventional loan, the interest rates will move up. Or if the interest rate stays the same, the cost to acquire that interest rate will go up. So credit scores are number 1. They drive interest rates. A 680 credit score is not going to get the same interest rate as somebody at 780. It's just the way it is. I'm not saying it's right or it's wrong. It's what it is. The next thing that drives interest rates is the type of loan you're getting. If you're getting a conventional loan versus FHA versus VA versus USDA versus a down payment assistance, all of those products are going to vary in the interest rate. So for example, if somebody's got a conventional loan or thinking about a conventional loan with a 680 credit score and an FHA loan at a 680 credit score, the FHA loan is going to get them a little bit better rate. And you might ask why? Just the way it is in the business. FHA is more lenient on interest rates at lower credit scores. On the other hand, if you've got high credit scores on a conventional loan, you'll be very happy because at 780 and above, you get the best deals possible. Next, down payment. Now, down payment doesn't have as big an impact on an FHA loan or a VA loan. It has a small impact. On a conventional loan, it can have a big impact. This is what you might find rather interesting. On May 1st of this past year, something changed. Freddie Mac and Fannie Mae said that if you put down 5%, we're going to give you a better interest rate than the person who puts down 10 or 15 or 20% at the same credit score. Greg, would you repeat that? Sure. If you put down 5%, Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac on May 1st of 2023 said, we're going to give you a better interest rate than the person with the same credit score that puts down 10, 15, or 20%. How can that make sense? In my 34 years in the business, it's never been that way, but it is today. Now, once you get to 25% down, now you get a much better, the rate starts getting real good again. And if you go to 40% down on a conventional loan, that's when you get just about the best rate. 40% down, high credit score, owner occupied, which I'm going to get into next, you're going to get a great deal. So far, we've mentioned 3 things: credit score, type of loan, and down payment. Next one, debt to income ratio. Now again, debt to income ratio may not have a gigantic impact on either an FHA or a VA loan, but it can have a rather significant impact on a conventional loan. Now again, it's driven by credit scores first, but if your debt to income ratio on a conventional loan, for example, approaches 49%, you're probably not going to get as good a deal as if it were at 39%. So debt to income ratio does play a role. Now, back in May of 2023, Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac were going to make it a big difference. It has a difference, but it's not as significant as what they were going to do. That's a blessing for all of us. So DTI can make a difference. And remember, we discussed how you calculate DTI in a previous video. Next is occupancy. Now, most everybody watching this, you're going to be a first-time home buyer, you're going to live in the property. But I mention it because if somebody's getting a second home or a investment property, you're not going to get as good a rate as somebody who has a primary residence. Now, you might be a first-time home buyer, but you need help getting into the loan to qualify for the mortgage. So you go to mom or dad and say, hey, would you mind getting on the loan with me? They can do that and they don't have to move in. And it does not have a negative impact on your rate. We call them non-occupant co-borrowers. It's a great way to get into a home if you're a little tight on being able to afford it and mom and dad are in a position to help you. So occupancy makes a big difference. So 5 things: credit score, type of loan, down payment, debt to income ratio, and occupancy. Greg, why wait till this far down the road before you start talking about interest rates? And the reason why is because at the pre-approval stage, interest rates do not make a difference. And you're saying, Greg, how can you say that? Interest rates always make a difference. Well, yes, they always make a difference on how much you can afford. But checking on interest rates and picking a lender based on interest rates at the time of pre-approval, and I'm just going to be blunt, it's foolishness. Interest rates change every day. The cost of interest rates change every day. Back in October, we were quoting people 8% interest rates. Now we're in the 7s, and even some people with high credit scores, with nice down payments, depending on the product, are even seeing a 6 in front of it. So, interest rates change all the time. So you don't go shopping interest rates at the time of pre-approval. That's when you're looking for the professional consultative lender. Now, once you get a binding contract, if at that time you still feel that you've got to go out and check interest rates, that's when you might do it, but certainly not before that. That's why I put this at the end of the 12 days of becoming a first-time home buyer, because although interest rates are important, it's not important at the beginning stages when you're getting ready to go out and look at homes. All you want to know is that your professional lender is not when they're doing that pre-approval, they're not using a low interest rate. You want them to be using a little bit higher, because just in case interest rates go up and now all of a sudden it affects your qualification, what you do not want to have happen is go out and get all excited about a house only to find out that the interest rate went up 3/4 of a point or a half a point or a quarter point, and now you don't qualify. Always ask your professional lender, hey, I know your rate might be better than this, but give me just a little bit higher to make sure I stay qualified and that I can stay being approved. That's a lot of information. I hope it helps. You are so close to being a first-time home buyer. I'm glad I'm with you. Thank you.